chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon. The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches, to make sure she is dead more than anything else. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today, 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
Turn the page. What was all of that? Turn the page.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
External examination. Summary.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
He turns the body onto its side to check the underwear label.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
Yeah. The kids thought Kim was about to take the guy's underpants off. Write it down.
The rest of the clothes have been removed post-mortem by scavengers in order to get to the victim's ceramic armor. Officers are in search of the missing pieces. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else.
Write it down.
The boot has a serial number. It's E50.100.100. The lines between the plates are in the shape of the alphanumerical. The number is purposefully concealed by the design. Tattoos.
He stands up, feet planted on either side of the body.
The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo, resembling a map of the night sky. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene, using a Trigat Mini. The deceased has a cargo lashing belt around his neck, tied with a hangman's knot. Color yellow. Length 3 meters. There is a buckle on the other end.
Write it down.
Well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters. Generally consistent with age, about 50. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature, below freezing.
Write it down.
Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short.
Write it down. Short, light brown, male pattern baldness.
Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs. Consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max.
I didn't pick up on the fact that he was insulting the kid's stone throwing because he's been throwing rocks at the body for like 3 days.
Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation.
Right, high velocity. No, write it down.
You get your mark.
The lieutenant produces a small folding knife. With the other hand pulling on the belt, he starts cutting into the polyester. The stench is horrible. After a while, it's obvious the material cannot be cut.
The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters.
Good thing we got these chain cutters. Pull out the rubber grip cutters.
Always good to think ahead. Now,
He points to the rope squeezing the dead man's neck.
we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully, with as much precision as you can.
See, my pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
Look for a good spot to cut.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the east.
I'm not your pig, Kuno.
You are? You're Kuno's pig?
Wait, I got a -1 for responding to the child? Oh my god. Can I... So, and I can't even leave the conversation and check to see if I could, like, adjust my gear or anything. -1 stupid argument with Kuno. Oh, God.
After some
Wow.
deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap! The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck.
The lieutenant has kneeled closer, running his fingertip along the dark red groove until there's a gap.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters.
Write it down.
Chest is intact, normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
He pulls down the man's underpants.
No! Let's get out and see!
I fucking knew it!
This is clearly what they've been waiting for, ever since the autopsy began. The lieutenant is trying to make it as boring as possible.
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury.
Write it down and move on.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip.
Continue.
In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin.
Write it down.
Last item, hands.
He takes the man's hands in his, inspects it, and moves on to the other hand. Let the lieutenant work alone.
Hands are clean. No sign of a recent struggle.
Were we expecting any?
I was. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment.
Write it down.
Ooh,
He turns to the side.
all for the external. Well done. What next?
He turns to the side to breathe. It's not enough. He buries his face in the sleeve of his jacket. You hear a muffled voice. Description of injuries. Summary. Actually, I guess we should do these in order. 2, I don't know. Internal examination summary.
Central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
You don't even have a joke.
Nope. Right, NA. Failed a medium check. I failed to conceptualize a good joke on central nervous systems.
Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
It's his neck. That word does not mean what you think it means.
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. Unremarkable.
Write it down.
Respiratory system.
Back hunched as if in prayer, he begins to pry open the dead man's jaws. He stops to exert more force. Both hands are used.
Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound. Mouth swollen. Hemorrhaging present in mucosa of the lips and mouth.
From here, it looks as though the clown-faced man is screaming. The tendons of his jaw are torn apart. Hyoid ripped from the force of the lieutenant's hands.
Look inside his mouth.
No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there. Sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like you're about to throw up again, straight in that mouth of his.
No, just write it down.
Hepatobiliary. NA.
He wipes his brow. Why? Don't we have anything?
Are you a hepatobiliary expert?
He looks at the corpse's stomach with a mixture of tiredness and disgust. I don't think so.
Neither am I.
Right, NA.
Same for toxicology and serology. NA.
Both?
Unless you have untapped reservoirs of knowledge there.
Right, NA.
Cardiovascular. The body exhibits lividity in the lower extremities, feet, hands, and neck, visually consistent with the hanging.
Write it down.
Gastrointestinal.
He breathes a sigh of approaching relief. This is the last field on the list. He looks around the ground, the pool of feces there.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila.
He touches the corpse's bloated lower abdomen, briefly. Write it down, omit the voila.
What's next on the list?
Description of injuries, summary.
Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 fields. Leave a 4th one too.
What's the 4th injury field for?
Nothing. Just in case.
1. Bite marks.
Head, chest, and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted.
Write it down.
And your opinion, officer?
Beneath the description, there are 2 boxes waiting to be ticked. For the bite marks, non-fatal post-mortem.
Agreed. Next injury?
Contusions.
So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
Continue.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Continue.
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Write it down.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Non-fatal post-mortem.
Right. Next.
Ligature mark. Finish the autopsy.
A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Muck, did you turn off the family-friendly thing? On YouTube, it's actually always off. I usually describe my channel as family-friendly, but I don't have, like, a checkbox on YouTube for that. Or I should say, there is a checkbox on YouTube for my stuff is meant for kids, and I never have that. Write it down.
I am maximum safe.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible.
Opinion. Fatal injury.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much to be questioned. But it's a start.
Continue.
Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this
70
field
XP.
autopsy over.
First, how did it go?
Well, we established probable cause of death. Some would say that's the goal of an autopsy.
What else?
We were thorough with the list of injuries, too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy.
What now?
I need a copy of that autopsy form. Then I will drive him to Faubourg
Rip out a copy of autopsy forms.
for processing.
He looks at the dead man one more time, then at the slip of red paper in his hand, then at the corpse again.
He's thinking, did I miss something?
Minus, let's see, perception 2, very low, -1, established probable cause. Search the body one more time thoroughly. Perception. Wait, I did.
You
No,
run your
I meant to-
hands over the victim's cold body. His
Okay, so that was
limbs,
even with the
his
point of
torso
it.
with its swollen organs. Maybe you should be more thorough.
Look under his fingernails like him already did.
His fingernails have turned dark. They're chipped and quite long. There is dirt under them. That's all.
Do you think we missed something?
You can't shake the feeling that there are more secrets concealed in the flesh before you.
Yes, there's something we're not seeing.
Okay, well, we are in livor mortis here. He is disintegrating. We need to refrigerate the body if we want to conduct another examination, and we need to do it fast.
Okay, where do we find a fridge here?
Hey, wasn't there a giant ice bear sarcophagus below that building?
Oh my god. The ice cream freezer? Fine. What? Yeah, there was.
Now, detective, I've rarely been disappointed by the size of a giant ice bear fridge, but I think we should still take a look at it first. Make sure it's big enough before we carry him over.
We're gonna have to go plug it in again.
Let's move. With every hour, whatever we are looking for in the deceased will become harder to find.
Especially with all these maximum velocity stones. Gotta remember how to get down there. Oh, yeah, it's right here. I'm gonna have to plug it back in. Is it the black cable or the red one?
Both cables are unplugged from the breaker
I think this
box.
is the black one.
Somewhere, a machine hums along with the current.
Plug in the red one.
Somewhere, in the dark,
Oh, it's the
a
red one.
giant
Unplug the
let
black.
something close to you.
Why did you do that?
The lieutenant raises.
What was this thing again?
This orange machine is dead still. It has a hand-cranked ice cream churner and an electric freezer. The ice around.
Okay, hang on.
Only the red cable is plugged into the breaker box. While somewhere, this orange machine is buzzing like an old submarine. It has a hand-cranked ice cream churner on top and an electric freezer that appears to be frozen shut.
Try to crack open the lid.
You slip your fingers under the frozen lid, but the ice is too cold for you to get a good grip. A pry bar would come in handy here.
Continue.
If you want to try again, then you need to have the pry bar in your hand, detective.
Equip the pry bar by going to the Tools tab in your inventory. From there, you can equip it to a held slot.
Okay, hold on. So let me unplug this so it's
Two cables are plugged into the something close.
Why did you do that?
The lieutenant.
Alright, so that should
This
ice
orange
melts.
machine is dead still. It has a hand-cranked
Minus
ice cream
20?
churner and an electric freezer. The ice around it slowly melting.
Turn the ice cream crank.
Turning the crank feels oddly satisfying, like stirring your childhood dreams. In the distance, you hear water dripping. It's all gone now. You'll never become a poet or an entrepreneur.
Alright, leave. Okay, let's check the bear.
The bear's eyes are still glowing red, watching over all the ice cream wrappers hidden inside its belly.
So what do you think of this fridge, Kim? It looks big enough for 2 corpses.
It's certainly an eccentric choice, but it is capacious and cold enough, too.
Continue.
But the optics on this are awful, he thinks. We need to be as silent as we can.
Continue.
Shall we go and get the body, then? I'll take the head, you take the feet. The stairs won't be easy, but we'll manage.
Okay, let's do this.
The body is heavier than you expected and stinkier. It takes half an hour to get the hand to the butcher, then 10 more minutes to stuff it into the fridge. The lieutenant takes a step back to admire your
Sounds like he
handiwork.
threw him in the ocean. Continue.
Beautiful. A dead body in an ice bear fridge. This is some of the best police work I've ever done.
I'm not sure I believe you.
Of course you don't. Look at that. What have we done? We stuffed a dead body in an ice bear fridge. This does not leave this room.
He means it. He doesn't want to be the ice bear cop.
We did our best with the means at our disposal.
Did we though? Okay, maybe we did. At least we've stopped the body from decomposing further. Now you can conduct another inspection. under controlled circumstances.
Inside the icy realm of the ice bear fridge, the corpse stands slumped, waiting.
Perception. Search him one more time thoroughly.
Your arm reaches out
That was
and your
17%.
eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. You feel cold, dead flesh through the latex glove. It's right under the palm of your hand.
What is this?
His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a rubber spider, your gloved hand crawls on his features. Everything is silent, all around.
Put your fingers in his mouth.
The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attaches itself to the base of the mouth, lolling around like a scallop. You're on the right track.
What? Why say you're on the right track? I don't want to open my eyes. Play with it. This feels right.
The tongue moves freely in the cavity. The mucus of the mouth is slippery, fragile, even through the latex. From the soft meat, teeth are budding. Hard pearls of bone in the gums and in the back of the mouth. Can you feel it? You're so close. Rip his jaws open now. Look in.
Open your eyes and look.
A vision of black and dark red death, pried open by your hands and studded with teeth. Looks like he's laughing. Death fumes rising from his throat. And there, in the back of his mouth, above the bell of the uvula, right in the soft palate, you see a hole, barely visible to the human eye. It is swollen shut, almost vanished. No larger than 0.4 centimeters in radius.
The
edges
like a
appear
gun?
darkened.
You guys think he like someone put like a barrel of a gun in his mouth and shot like upward? Safe. Yeah.
Keep going.
Touch it with your finger gently. Proceed.
A black trickle of liquid runs into his throat from the wound.
Put your finger in.
Your index fits right in there. A tight tunnel of flesh opens up. Tissue damage. Wide enough for 2 fingers. As you push both in, you reach through his mouth, right into his brainstem.
Brainstem?
Yes, that's what this part is called.
Feel around first.
The basal ganglia feels clumpy. What entered here has torn apart his reptilian complex.
Push deeper.
Your yellow fingers slide into the remains of the limbic system. There is no resistance. It's gelatinous. The slug-like structures are damaged too. The tearing extends deep into both hemispheres.
Continue.
The ululations of the limbic system have ended. All is quiet.
There's a cavity cut right between the hemispheres.
The lieutenant answers with the sound of his pen on paper.
Push deeper.
Your fingers are all the way in now, reaching toward the inside of his skull. The cavity goes further, but the entry wound isn't wide enough for the rest of your hand to follow.
Wriggle in.
Your fingers reach toward his skull. His cerebral cortex feels like jelly. Cold jelly. Strange fluid streams down your wrist as you push deeper until you feel it on the tip of your finger.
A bullet?
Ice cold serrated metal. Its edges cut right through the latex and into your finger.
Crap. I feel a solid object right under the skull.
Can you get to it?
He searches his pockets for something. Inspect the skull first.
There's a tiny crack.
Good thing you have the gardening
A
gloves. Well, they just got
in the
cut.
cranium, right in the back of his head. Your finger must be pointing straight at it from the inside.
Good thing you have gardening gloves. Yeah, no, like my hand just, like the glove and my hand just got cut by the metal. And there's 1-week-old dead guy juice dripping into my open wound. That can't be good.
The object that is in there stops just short of the skull, in the encephalus, knocking this tiny fracture into the cranium.
We have the makings of a very small exit wound here.
Interfacing, easy. Precise spot of exit wound, 83%. I wish I could change equipment right now. Where's interfacing? There it is. %92%.
You pick the object between your index and middle finger. It feels sharp, like metal. With your face twisting from pain and concentration, all you need to do is just...
Slowly pull your fingers out.
The inside of the head feels cold and smooth, like a glove. Sweat dripping down your brow. Careful not to lose the prize between your fingers. With a plop, your hand emerges from the mouth. The garden glove is covered in blood right up to the wrist. Between your fingers, a small flower. A blossom made of lead.
Continue.
A bullet.
The lieutenant puts a small bag marked evidence under it. Drop it in.
The bullet falls in the bag, leaving a smattering of blood on the plastic. He raises the bag under his eyes and says,
A non-caliber. Rifled. Some kind of brittle alloy. Fractured on impact.
Keep it, Lieutenant, as a gift.
No, you deserve it. We can log it later.
The lieutenant drops the bag in your hand. It feels light.
We need to add an item to the injury list. Injury number 4. Oval entry wound with an abrasion color. Soft palate, back of mouth. High velocity. Temporary cavity in brain tissue. Small exit wound on the occiput. How does that sound?
Say nothing, just nod.
Opinion, fatal injury.
Agreed.
And one last thing. We should amend injury number 3. Ligament mark. New opinion, non-fatal. Post-mortem. Treatment.
he's proposing the bullet was the real cause of death, and the hanging an attempt to conceal this fact.
The ligament mark, fractured hyoid wound, it was all treatment.
Yes, and the belt around his neck. The hanging. Even dragging him to the yard. All of it was done after this man was already dead.
You think so?
I did not just come up with this. I've had my doubts since you showed me the tracks, officer. Why did they carry him over? Why not march him? There is no satisfactory explanation. There have been other signs too. Small details. Everything
Secret
is
task
too neatly
complete.
designed for us to assign probable cause here. As we did, full-heartedly. Well, no more.
Find the bullet before you get fooled. All of this is a result of me making that 17% check.
We almost fell for it, he thinks. Almost. There is, of course, the very real possibility he was both shot and hanged.
Maybe the bullet holds more answers?
Yes, we should take a closer look at it. I am certain it has more to tell us.
This little thing could reveal much about the weapon that shot it.
Who would do this?
That's for us to find out. But this, it will make finding them just a little easier.
Why would anyone do this?
To hide something. The real killer? The real motivation? What really happened here?
It's weird the bullet left so little damage and markings and signs of its passing. Well, remember, the guy was hanging from the tree for like a week, decomposing. So maybe it did leave evidence, but it was just really hard to see it because of like the swelling and everything was just like bloated and, you know, stinky and oozing and all that stuff. So, I mean, the whole thing was just like when he inspected it, he just missed the hole in the guy's mouth. Maybe they shot him while they hanged him?
To put him out of his misery? It's possible, but it does not explain all the other dubious things here. Lack of struggle, primarily. I may be intellectually sloppy, but I prefer one theory at a time. And this just smacks of treatment to me.
I think I need to wash myself.
Oh, you really, really do. I am glad to hear you say that. Your room in the Whirling in Rags should come with a bathroom. Be sure to make use of it in the evening.